University of Ibadan. Distance Learning Center. Economics of Exchange. ECO 101. Session 2. Course Overview. Economics of Exchange. Introduction. Exchange and Opportunity Cost. Comparative Advantage Principle. Comparative Advantage and Production Possibilities Curve. Factors that can shift the production possibilities curve. Study Session Summary. Introduction. Explore why people choose to exchange goods and services in the first place, rather than having each person produce his or her own food, clothing, shelter, and other necessities of life. Learning outcomes. Highlight the rationale behind the principle of specialization in production of goods and services. Construct the production possibilities curve, PPC, and point out its usefulness. Exchange and opportunity cost, comparative advantage principle. We can recall that the scarcity principle tells us that the opportunity cost of spending more time on any one activity is having less time available to spend on others. This principle helps in explaining why everyone can do better by concentrating on those activities at which he or she performs best relative to others. The principle of absolute advantage tells us that one person has an absolute advantage over another if he or she takes fewer hours to perform a task than the other person. The principle of comparative advantage is the case where one person has a comparative advantage over another if his or her opportunity cost of performing a task is lower than the other person's opportunity cost. We can all have more of every good and service if each of us specializes in the activities at which we have a comparative advantage. For example, consider a community in which Mozarir is the only professional bicycle mechanic, and Hamidha is the only professional software programmer. Mozarir also happens to be an even better software programmer than Irimide. If the amount of time each of them takes to perform these tasks is as follows: production information for Mozarir and Hamidha. Mozarir has 20 minutes to design a software program, and 10 minutes to complete a bicycle repair. While Hamidha has 30 minutes, design a software program, and 30 minutes to complete a bicycle repair. The above table shows that Mozarir has an absolute advantage over Hamidha for both activities. While Mozarir the mechanics needs only 20 minutes to design software, Hamidha, the programmer, needs 30 minutes. Mozarir's advantage over Hamidha is even greater when the task is fixing bikes. She can complete a repair in only 10 minutes, compared to Hamidha's 30 minutes. The interesting and important implication of the opportunity cost comparison, summarized in table below, is that the total number of bicycle repairs and software designs accomplished if Mozarir and Hamidha both spent part of their time at each activity will always be smaller than the number accomplished if each specializes in the activity in which she has a comparative advantage. Opportunity cost for Mozarir and Hamidha. Comparative advantage makes specialization worthwhile, even if one trading partner is more productive than the others, in absolute terms, in every activity. Comparative advantage and production possibilities curve. Given a hypothetical economy in which only two goods and produced, coffee and ground nuts. It is a small economy, and production consists either of picking coffee beans or ground nuts. The more time workers spend picking coffee, the less time they have available for ground nuts. For example, assume an economy with a single worker that can divide her time between two activities. The production possibilities curve of the worker is given thus. The production possibilities curve of the worker. Since the worker's production possibilities curve is a straight line, its slope is constant. Note that the worker's opportunity cost of ground nut can also be expressed as the following simple formula. Opportunity cost for nuts is equal to loss of coffee divided by gain in ground nuts, where loss of coffee equals the amount of coffee given up, and gain in nuts is the corresponding increase in ground nuts. Likewise, the opportunity cost of coffee can be represented by the formula. Opportunity cost for coffee is equal to gain in ground nuts divided by loss of coffee. To say that the opportunity cost of an additional pound of ground nuts is 2 pounds of coffee is thus equivalent to saying that the opportunity cost of a pound of coffee is half pound of ground nuts. The production possibilities curve below is not a straight line as in the earlier examples, involving only a single worker, but rather a curve that is bowed out from the origin. This bow-shaped production possibilities curve means that the opportunity cost of producing ground nuts increases as the economy produces more of them. Production possibility curve. Any point on the production possibility curve represents point of efficient production, where all available resources are fully utilized, and it is therefore impossible to increase the production of one product without reducing the production of the other. Any point within the production possibility curve represents inefficient production, because not all available resources are used at such a point. The bowed-shaped production possibility curve illustrates the low-hanging fruit principle, that when resources have different opportunity costs, we should always exploit the resource with the lowest opportunity cost first. Factors that can shift the production possibilities curve. The production possibility curve can shift as a result of increase in the amount of the production resources available. When a nation's resource endowment increases, or new resources are discovered, more production opportunities will occur, and thus, the production possibility curve shifts outward. Population growth also causes an economy's production possibility curve to shift outward, and thus is often listed as one of the sources of economic growth. Improvement in knowledge and technology is another factor that can shift the PPC. As economists have long recognized, such improvements often lead to higher output through increased specialization. In this study session, we presented the rationale behind the principle of specialization in production of goods and service. We also show how to construct the production possibility curve and point out its usefulness. Thanks for watching.